so glad to be here with Beth, my dear friend, talking about what you've been up to at TrueCar. I'm Valerie Vespa, VP of Brand Partnerships at OUTFRONT Media. And, I was really kind of excited not only to be speaking here with Beth, who is a friend of mine, we go back, but I think the theme of this discussion around challenger brands and the next generation of DTC is kind of near and dear to my heart, just because from like a challenger brand perspective, and I'm just going to, talk a little bit about my history being an out of home. We've always had from like the Ubers and the Lyfts kind of like doing the land grab for out of home space. And even most recently, there's a company that we partner with called ClickUp, and they had a billboard, and one of their challenger brands like bought a board right below them and like poking fun at their creative. And she posted it on LinkedIn and had a whole commentary about it. And there was this whole back and forth, and it's like, who's winning this fight? I mean, I love that stuff. So we've been, in out of home space, we've been doing this for quite some time, but from a DTC standpoint, even more so, like, I think, the years of like, the days of Casper, when there were like 5 people working there, Casper Mattress, or TaskRabbit, where they're like, really digital focused. And they're like, we're just not getting this kind of customer acquisition we're looking for. And they entered the space in out of home, and we really helped them solve some of those troubles around customer acquisition. And it like led me to, and I think the industry as a whole from out of home perspective, to understand like how impactful the channel can be at not only doing brand awareness, which we know we can do super well, but like also how we can impact like lower funnel stuff. So like for me, this is like a really fun conversation. And I think, the point about it being next gen DTC, I think there are a lot of nuances and interesting challenges that I'd love to talk about from your perspective being at TrueCar. So enough about me. Nobody wants to hear from me. We want to hear about Beth and what she's up to. So Beth, like, can you just explain like, kind of a bit about your history, how you landed at this gig at TrueCar and kind of everything in between?
Yeah, well, I'll spare you the gory details. But first off, thank you for having me today. This was, I was very excited to be asked to join the conversation. And then, when I found out that you, Val, were going to be my moderator and my person, I was even more overjoyed. So once again, thank you, Brand Innovators, for making it happen. I think this is a very interesting conversation because, when you think about, and I'll get to me in a second, but when you think about D2C, you think about companies that are new, that are disrupting the norm. And I think what's really interesting about TrueCar is that, it's not new. We act as a startup, but we're about 17 years old. And so we have evolved and reinvented and, have always kind of held ourselves as a disruptor. And I think now even more so than the more recent history, disruption is really coming back into our vocabulary. And I think the big thing is that you don't have to be a startup to think in this way, to act in this way, and to really believe that you can make change happen. Even if you are, what may feel as old and stodgy being public, it's actually not. We actually have a really strong, thriving environment, and we're growing and learning and reaching new things every day. So to me, it's been a really interesting and fun journey over the last year and a half of coming to the brand side. And so a little bit on me, I started, way back when. We don't need to know exactly the date, but, really more so on the agency, brand agency side. And, spent the majority of my time and a few dabbles in sales, but the majority of my time really understanding consumers, behavioral elements of those consumers, and how to help brands connect with those consumers more overtly. Now, of course, I've taken many, turns and twists and, uphills and downhills, but it's always been, more of a digital bend to the way that I've approached things. And I think that's what's exciting about what we're doing here at TrueCar. Not only are we, a digital platform, and that's what we do. We are a tech company that, works within the automotive space, and we are a tech platform. And I say that very specifically because while we are TrueCar and we do enable consumers to connect with dealers to find the right vehicle at the right price. We actually don't own any assets, any vehicles. We are asset light company. And I think that's what makes us unique in the way that we look at our property, is that we do emulate, we do follow many of the same structural goals as, say, other two-sided marketplaces. So if you think about Etsy, you think about Uber, you think about, I mean, gosh, any of these gig economy, platforms that have changed the way we do things, that's how we look at ourselves as well. And, I think from that standpoint, it gives us the opportunity to have different types of conversations with different stakeholders, but it also helps us stay true to our goal of creating a really fair, a really easy, transparent, and efficient way for people to transact when they want to buy a vehicle or even sell a vehicle. So to me, it's really exciting to be here talking about this, because it's not always what people expect TrueCar to be talking about. So
Sure. I mean, it's so interesting. Of course, we're going off script, because this just brought me to other questions that I have for you. You think about the last couple of years with COVID and a lot of traditional brands, for lack of a better term, getting into the DTC space because they kind of had to, and saw that need. You're saying that you've been around since 2005, right? It's had you always had that plight of being a digital first sort of organization? Has that always been since inception the way, what was your transformation to kind of get to that point? I think that's...
Yeah. I look at it in 3 chapters. And so the first chapter was the launch of TrueCar. And it was really born out of the ability to provide consumers with a very transparent price on a vehicle, right? So very consumer focused. Now, again, if we think about it from a digital standpoint, we've, like I said, we're asset light. We've never owned any vehicles. So at the end of the day, we've always been a digital platform. And so our mindset has always been, how does the virtual or digital space actually help us do our job better and be able to connect the dots better? The second chapter of our lives is when we kind of swung the pendulum to the other direction and really started to focus on dealer needs and being able to deliver very high quality, high closing, shoppers, and, getting them into a vehicle. And now we're in our third chapter, which is really squarely in the middle of those two, either side of the spectrum, where we are the enabling technology that helps connect consumers in being able to find the vehicle that they want, build a price or build a deal that works for them, find the price that they can pay, and then ultimately fulfill the vehicle in the way that they want to, whether it is going into the dealership to, sign and pick up the keys, or through a fully digital online experience through our product that we're piloting right now in Florida called TrueCar Plus. And that's where you can fulfill your vehicle all the way through to delivery at your home. So, I think we've seen kind of all the sides, and now we see that consumers really this is table stakes, right? This is what everybody does. I know that we talk a lot and we talk via our phone, right? And everything I do, I just booked flights this morning real quickly while my husband was on his desktop or on his laptop. I was on my phone. We're standing next to each other. Everything we all do is from our phone. And so why would buying a car or any kind of vehicle be any different? Why wouldn't we be able to do that? And our thought is, why isn't it us? Why wouldn't it be us first? So we're making it happen.
I love it. I know, I love it. Because that process, I can imagine, runs the gamut in terms of experiences that people can share about human interactions at dealers or whatever, paperwork and loans and what. It's exhausting to kind of think about all the places where there's friction points, right? And you're kind of trying to alleviate that, right?
Yes.
And I kind of want to get into that, but as far as how are you creating this really truly satisfactory marketplace for both sides. But before we get into that, we're talking about challenger brands here. So can you kind of explain what makes TrueCar really a challenger in this environment?
Well, I think one of the big things, and I've said it a few times, but one of the big things is we don't control the hearts and minds of both sides of our marketplace, right? And so I think some of the challenges come in developing trust for both sides, developing that product that people want to interact with, and that we actually live up to the expectations of that consumer and of that dealer. So I think from the standpoint that we've got a lot of other competitors out there dabbling in this space with different digital retailing tools and technology, and even ownership and full ownership of the entire experience of buying a vehicle. And because we have different challenges, we have different milestones that we have to hit, that do create a different landscape for us and different hurdles. And so, while we could look at our competitors like a Carvana and take some cues, and our DTC OEMs like a Tesla, we also want to make sure that we're delivering a product that continues to drive greater sales for our dealer partners. So how do we play a role in helping them expand their digital footprint and the ability for them to continue to succeed? So it's just I would also say from a challenger standpoint that we've had to overcome some of those reputational challenges of being one side or the other. And so we've had to regain the trust of consumers and regain the trust of our dealer partners in our network. And so that, it's not just building a cool new technology. We've actually kind of had to unravel some of the things that, many of our competitors haven't had to do. And so I think us approaching it from a challenger standpoint actually it gives us energy, it gives us perspective, and it gives us some creativity on how to actually do things a bit differently, and not just wash, rinse, and repeat, or maybe tinker or tweak, but it's really the opportunity for us to say, okay, what really do we need to do? How do we actually make this so much more meaningful and superior than anything else out there? Let's do this. There's no stopping us and no holding us back from that level of creativity and collaboration inside of our walls.
So you think from either both perspectives on both sides, just listening to your consumer and then listening to the dealers, and then kind of making the platform exactly what they're,
Oh my gosh, listening is so key. For a long time in many brands, I've worked with several several more than that over the years, but many brands, and I think this is also the change of the way people and brands are approaching communicating with each other. But I think the big thing is we don't have the luxury to tell consumers what they should want and what they should read and how they should see us. We have to listen to what consumers want, how they are approaching their lives, how do we fit into their lives versus trying to intercept and hope and pray that they're going to like us. Right? We have to really be thoughtful about our approach, and instead of just listening and thinking, oh, okay, well, we hear you. Actually, let's actually think about what people are saying and hear them and act on what they've asked for. And that would also, I think too, you don't want to always be kind of being reactive to people's wants. But after a while, you get really good at being a little anticipatory. You get really good at kind of being proactive. And, if we're smart, which I feel we are actually looking into the future to see how technology changes people's behaviors, changes people's approach to purchasing, right? Think about how different even a couple of years ago, how we purchased things. I don't ever go into a store.
Right.
Even for the silliest of things.
I mean, the
right?
idea of using Apple Pay to buy a car is just like,
It is a little mind blowing,
it is.
but it's doable, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. I know like this is sort of like a random thought that came up because like from a digital first kind of business where there's no necessary brick and mortar, the customer service side of things from the consumer perspective, I think must be kind of really interesting to solve for. Like I think about lately calling airlines to get some sort of information and you're on hold for an hour and a half, so from your perspective, how have you kind of addressed, because again, buying a car is like you kind of have to, help them
yeah,
through that education, all of this stuff. So
yeah.
talk about that a bit.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that's different about us too is again, we enable people to fulfill the need of or the desire of purchasing a vehicle. We don't facilitate the buy. We don't direct someone or guide them
Persuade, yeah.
into which dealer to go to. And
Yeah.
we help them through. So a couple of things. And if we think about customer service in that broader sense, it is not only the team, our contact center team that, has inbound calls around concerns that they might have and the experience they have with us, but it's also the things that happen on either end, right? It's our ability to ensure that our platform helps educate consumers as they come in and experience, whether it's discovery of a vehicle, they're not sure exactly what vehicle they want, and understanding the process to go through to find the vehicle and build that deal, all the way through to how our dealers are connecting with our consumers and understanding, and the dealers understanding what we're doing with them and for them, so they don't have to do as much of the heavy lifting later on in the process. And so, we are maniacally focused on learning about who comes to our site, why they're coming there, what are the differences in the way one consumer or user acts if they come in through paid search versus coming in through, word of mouth and an organic, search, right? So, how do you, or just typing in TrueCar.com, right? And so how do we manage people's expectations and be able to deliver something really cool and awesome and, empowering, if we don't actually continue to look at what they're doing, ask them questions, dive a little bit deeper, maybe even understand a little bit of the hidden agenda behind the why or the need of their next purchase. So, again, we're constantly surveying consumers. We're constantly asking questions. And also like our internal team, our crew members. So we're called the TrueCar crew. Oops, as you can see here. We're focused in developing new ways to create an environment where our crew members are a valuable resource in feedback of the product itself. So, I think it's, that each of us are the best advocates we possibly could have as a brand. And so how do we continue to nurture that part of the relationship that we have with our product? And also, again, be able to ensure that we are listening to the voice of the consumer in a way that, takes it from every level, from inside to, the next circle to the ultimately to how word of mouth helps us. And so, I think the fun part about this is that it's never a dull moment. People are always moving and shaking and changing things up and creating new ways for us to approach the problems they might have in this process. And so, again, we're always looking for solves.
I mean, it just sounds like, again, 2005, it's weird. It's not that long ago, but it's long enough ago to like, be like, you're an established brand here. And I think, just, it seems like you guys have still been able to keep that nimble kind of startup feel as far as understanding first party data, listening to your consumers in ways that like other businesses maybe didn't anticipate for that back in 2005. So it's like, it's kudos to you, because I think that's being able to evolve, and be
Yeah.
sort of a couple steps ahead.
Well, we have a really smart crew of people. Like, I will tell you, when I first came on board in October of 2020, as you can imagine, how interesting that is, of starting a job and in a time where so many things were uncertain, not only in business and in automotive, but in the world, and then not being able to meet anybody,
Right.
and in person. And so, for the first 9 months, almost 10 months of my time at TrueCar, this was how I interacted. And I know there's a ton of people out there who have, had very much the same experience. But it was a bit eye-opening for me. And I think what made my transition from being in the kind of the middleman world, right, in the agency side of the world, to a brand side, is the fact that everyone here really, and it happened in the interview process. And I'm sorry, I'm going now into a different rabbit hole, Val, but I think what really was interesting to me is that I had a moment before I started engaging with TrueCar to really take stock of the values that I wanted in my next position, in my next company, and with my next, group of colleagues and peers. And what I found with TrueCar is that the team and the crew at that point really lived to some of the key values. And I was like, wow, that's unusual. There's something to be said for that. And let's see what this is all about. And I think that's what made me most excited about coming here, and not being just a disruptor in this new mindset, but truly coming to an organization that held those things very dear. And I think it's also led us, back to the smart people part, it's really led us to look at who we bring on board, not through being like-minded or, in our world, lookalikes, right? It's actually being valued. And so not only does that give us the opportunity to, I don't know, look at things and interview people and ask questions from a very different base. It's not about the experience, because boy, I hope if what you have on your resume is actually true. I really do hope that, and I'm going to, hope that, that I can trust that is accurate. But on the other side is, do you have the same regard for people? Do you have the same approach to communications and being straightforward and honest? And, again, making sure that when we look at opportunities to bring people in, and boy, have we ever, we actually did go through the Great Resignation, and, we were stripped down to our bare bones, and now we are building, I can say it even more specifically from my specific team in, all communications and marketing and creative and customer service. I have an incredible team, and it's because we all came together because we have some common ground, and the common ground isn't just experience, it's who we are as humans. So to me, it's just that makes me excited every single day to go to work, because I can't wait to work with my
I love that
crew. And that is not blowing smoke. This is truly how I feel every day going to work.
That's so good. I'm so happy for you, because you deserve that. You're the best. And I because I was looking, I'm such a creeper. I think it's the inherent salesperson in me that I was on your LinkedIn. I'm I know you well, but I'm looking at your activity. That's one part of my creep that I do. And I was you're just hiring bananas. And I guess, what can get concerning, again, you guys had gone through that, probably the resignation thing, and then back to hiring again. And that's so exciting and wonderful to hear. How do you, again, I think your point there about valued humans, finding those similar sets, is just crucial to keeping the culture and everything so strong. And I think, what we've learned through all of this is, culture is so important to everything, right?
Yeah, because boy, you bring in one individual and they don't, really follow that same kind of thinking or mindset or even belief in the work that you're doing is meaningful. It can completely
throw off the entire,
absolutely. It upsets the apple cart to take something from my grandmother.
It's hard. I know humans are hard. We're complicated.
Yes, certainly.
So I was more a part of my other, creeping that I was doing. So your tagline is terrific: car buying shaped to your life. And kind of going back to that sort of mantra of like, your mission and your overarching purpose. Like, I kind of want to get into that a little bit. And then, I look at car in your TrueCar crew design and the brand, the car part is colorful. And I think that that's not random. There's some intention in there. So, I'm guessing from a purpose and DEI perspective, there's sort of like this is for everyone type of thing. So can we kind of talk, there's probably like 12 questions there, but.
Yeah. And let's see if I can hit them all in one.
If you need to reiterate any part of that 12 part, I can.
No, it's all good. So yeah, I mean, I think our new tagline is really special, to be honest. And it's not just a tagline that we are using in public, marketing environments. Like, it's something that really is meaningful to us as an organization. And, when we first started putting it together, and I have an incredible marketing team who really thought of this and put so much effort and heart into developing what car buying shaped to your life actually means. And, we're proud to celebrate that it really is for you as an individual, no matter where you live, no matter how much you make, no matter what type of car you have, no matter what your economic situation is, your zip code, it doesn't matter. It matters the fact that you have the ability to have the freedom that mobility and owning a vehicle actually can provide to you. And so, and again, whether you need it or you want it, it doesn't matter to us. We want to make sure that you are able to do the things that are necessary in your life, not mine, not the company's, right? Not in my CEOs or my competitors.
Yeah, right.
But it's truly in how consumers can use this platform to meet their needs at that time in their lives. And I think that's the beauty of this, is the fact that our platform continues to evolve to speak to that. But it's also in how we are approaching, even internally, the programs that we have to create, greater inclusivity. And I kind of giggle a little bit because I look at our logo right now, and it's so on from a celebratory Pride Month moment. But I think it's and that I think was an amazing byproduct of really smart teams prior to me coming on board to think about what our logo could mean beyond just being a logo for a car buying service. Right. And I think there was the heart that was put into the development of this rebranding. And mind you, we looked a lot like everybody else. We had a white and blue kind of thing, and a little bit of a different typeface, but it really it didn't speak to who we were becoming. And I think at that time, maybe we did and maybe we didn't. Again, it was before me, so I can't take any credit for the beautiful logo that we have. But what we've done with it and what we'll continue to do with it really gives us a lot of energy and excitement, because it keeps things bright, it keeps things vibrant, and it also gives us a ton of flexibility in the way that our brand comes forward. Now, that doesn't mean that we change things, only blue or only purple or only white. Like, we try to be really true. And in fact, my creative team, they are the brand ambassadors, and sometimes I call them the brand police, to make sure that all of us aren't taking liberties with our beautiful logo. But, but at the end of the day, it's something that we're proud, every day there's two things that kind of happen. And then I want to talk about an out of home experience that we have that we're also very proud of. We have two things. Everybody has swag, and everybody, like, working remotely, everybody wears their t-shirts. I mean, maybe not every day, but I will tell you, every single day there is a huge group of people who wear their TrueCar t-shirts. Well, I didn't today because A, it didn't match my jacket, but B, I also didn't want to be overly logoed, right? Because, I do have it. I do have it everywhere, right?
I love that.
I am an ambassador of our brand, but I think there's so much, there's incredible increasing pride of the work that we're doing in the company that we work with and for. The other is this background. So about a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, we made a decision to say, hey, everybody, have a background, like give yourself some freedom to not have to like worry about what's going on behind you. Right. And I also, kind of selfishly, from a brand standpoint, I was like, our brand's going to be out there. Like, these are more impressions that we can get. And like, we have tons of creativity in the way that we're bringing forward our backgrounds. And what's even more exciting is the fact that people are, and I'm going to show you one that's very timely. People are gravitating toward these. And so we have every month that there's a celebration or, heritage or history month, we develop these and we encourage our entire crew to use them. And, everybody's got the freedom to choose what they want when they want to, and in front of whom they feel most comfortable. But it's really a beautiful thing that this company has embraced. So that's a fun one. And then the last thing is we have and I actually have a background, so this will be fun.
I love this. You're like the DJ right now.
I know.
What are you gonna play now?
Background. So we also have, for those of you in LA, we also have a sign on the 405. And we now use that as a tool for us to not only, create exposure for our brand, but also celebrate the things and take and provide awareness for things that are important to us as a company. This one happens to be National Breast Care Awareness. We have it right now. If you are in LA and you drive past the building, it is in, the flag colors. Celebrating Pride Month. And so, again, it's just from that standpoint, is we're creating a culture that is, responding to the things that are important to our team members, but also making sure that we are purpose built, and, really meeting the needs of not only our team members or our crew members, but also of our customers and our users, whether they are the consumer or the dealer. So.
I love it. I know it's not like slapping your logo on a bunch of things and just kind of calling it a day.
Yeah. We take pride in where it lives, for sure.
I love it. So, I have a million other questions, but what are some of, in your tenure, like, what are you most proud about, and what are you most looking forward to in the coming years? I don't know how far you guys project out. I did have a question about goals, and so at a DTC brand, I would imagine that there's tremendous growth goals. And I forgot to ask you that question because I feel like it's a really interesting one. Do you think you could touch upon that, and then we can get to the proud moments and the future?
It is really interesting because we've just recently, are going through and in the process of kind of exclamation pointing our second half goals. And, we have some pretty heavy duty goals ahead of us. And, we had a very deliberate discussion around that, over the last couple of weeks, and even yesterday morning with our executive team around help us understand, or help the organization understand what's the art and science behind this. And, there's definitely some science, and some of that is secret sauce. And some of this is art and really pushing us as an organization forward in ways that are, I don't know, sometimes a little scary, maybe even, not something that we can achieve in full. But if we gave ourselves some really like easy layup goals, well, then we're going to be patting ourselves on the back and really making just small incremental change, not this big game changing, industry changing, end goal. And I say end kind of loosely because we're never going to hit it, right? It's going to be ever evolving and growing and, creating a little bit, more discomfort for all of us, but in a way that helps us, or helps motivate us. And it not be, oh, here's another 50 or here's another 100. Like, let's go for thousands and tens of thousands and really starting to move that needle and giving people the permission to like really think differently on how to achieve some of these things that are a little scary.
I mean, it's like when you know that your product is providing value and you can start to scale that beyond where you are right now. And then, there's a value, and then there's I forgot what I was going to say, but I mean, I think collaboratively, knowing that there's these massive growth goals, I think you're in a good place. You're in a good space. It's better than some other organizations that have a lot of other issues at this, current juncture. So yeah, it's good.
I mean, we're evolving. So new things come forward on the regular, on the daily, right? I mean, we're always addressing new things and thinking about new things and, kind of testing. We're very, we do focus a lot on testing to make sure that, we're not just going out there with our gut, but gut kind of still has a little bit to do with it, right? There's a strong group of us internally who, and hopefully the entire organization, who believes in what we're doing at such an intense level. That, I think with that type of intensity and that type of motivation, there's no way you can stop us.
I love it. That's actually a great ending. Are we at time?
I love the motion theme. Nothing can stop us. We're
Cue the song, whatever that song
is.
Oh, that was terrific. Thank you so much. And yes, it was the perfect wrap up. So I really want to thank both Beth Mach of TrueCar and Val Vespa of OUTFRONT Media. What I loved about it is that you said that consumers really expect full service and mobility. So what's holding us back from delivering that? Nothing. Listen to dealers, listen to consumers, and go.
That's right. I'll leave you with this. Part of our internal motivation is, and it was just coined internally about a year ago, and now it's really catching it. Even in our Slacks, we've got like, the little emoji and all that kind of stuff. And we also have this, it's a card that was sent to our executive team, and we use in so many presentations, whether it's board meetings or internal meetings, but it really helps drive and keep that like energy toward this, gosh, we have no idea where the road is going to end. If it does, it's never going to end, right? So like, let's go. And
let's go.
Yeah. And our CEO is one who helps really drive that home for us. And again, super exciting to be at this stage, and ask us in 6 months to a year where we are, and I know the momentum will be strong and the energy will be even more intense. So thanks again for having me.